Dan here, DD, change your mind every day shop, I guess. We got Chevy 2 in the other garage. We got the lift. It mostly looks like a car, and it mostly is a car. Now in the last video, I talked about how our plan for this thing is gasser it and just keep swiping that Visa until it friggin' bursts. But that's the plan. We're gonna have a kind of cool hot rod. I'm pretty excited about it. But we do have to get this thing on the road and inspect it and all that stuff, and I feel like it's gonna be easier just as a bone stock 6-cylinder, and I happen to have most of the parts to do that. And the parts coming from Speedway are probably still, at least a week or 10 days before I'll get them. You know, those Mounties, they gotta make sure those speed parts aren't any sort of issues, and you gotta pay your tax. Pay your taxes. So, we have to kind of give this thing its kind of once over. Now, where we had left it, I'm having trouble getting motivated on this thing. It's been kind of flipping flopping, but really it's like 80% done and 80% of the stuff, you know what I mean? So we got to finish off the front end. Where we left it, the steering box is all wonky. We changed everything except for steering box and tie rod ends, and there's like a little Pitman arm or something like that that's unhappy. No, that's not what it is. Anyways, the seats aren't bolted in, and then we gotta check like lights, make sure the wipers work, heater, all that kind of stuff, back glass, and what have you. The exhaust is kind of rattling. We gotta make sure we get that tied away. Just odds and ends. Trunk doesn't close, all that. Now, I was on Rock Auto a little while ago, because ultimately we have to pull the steering box out to shim it or screw around or tighten it or whatever it may be to tighten up the wheel, right? I was like, you know, this is how it's gonna work. And this is the old DD Speed Shop math. Time. I don't have a lot of time. These videos, you gotta kind of put them out, nature of the beast. If I pull the steering box all apart and it can't be fixed, then I have to order something, I'm kind of hooped. The front end's apart, do not pass go. These are somewhat unique in the front end. I believe these steering boxes maybe are go to like the same-ish year, kind of mid-size-y kind of deals. Trying to find that stuff is hard. The front end of these things is hot garbage. Nobody rebuilds the stock front ends of these things. And lesson learned, when you're first time building a different car, do a little research. I did none. I guess this is do as I say, not as I do. Because I'd buy a car tomorrow, know nothing about it. If I think it's cool, then figure out parts are a hassle to get. Anyway, I digress. I went on Rock Auto. They actually had this Larry's steering box, 250, 270, something like that. Brand new, rebuilt, ready to go. I was like, you know what? That's kind of a waste of money if we could just tighten it up, but if we can't, we're hosed. I have the outer tie rods and adjuster sleeves. I bought that off the marketplace a while ago, so I bought its pair so we can change all of that. And then I went to some Nova website and I got the little bushings and all the stuff I need. So the whole front will be completely new. Now, we're gonna gasser this thing and do all that stuff. Now, if we ever have an issue where, you know, we have to put it back to stock or whatever it may be, we'll have all the stuff, sorry. I'll have the whole front clip tied away, move it with a Bobcat and it's mint, or I could try and sell it, maybe make a few bucks back. Unfortunate, is it a waste of $270? Maybe. But in the interest of keeping flowing, and now we have a timeline, not just a timeline, but a deadline. And waiting on stupid things is very frustrating, such as the rear window rubber starting to really frustrate me to the point where I think I might just have to kind of overnight something and do what I gotta do there. But we'll give it a couple of days and then we'll tackle it. We'll get everything else finished and carry on. So, we got the lift. I'm so excited to be back on the lift. I'm gonna push this thing back. We'll get her up in the air. Little tiny car. We should be able to pull whatever we have to pull of the suspension apart. Now, if you saw, stupid old cars. So this thing being, I don't know what year they changed. I'm used to Tri-Fives, which has this, but it has the killer steering post here, or whatever you want to call it, shaft. Obviously on more modern cars, there's like a slip yoke or a U-joint or something like that. This one there is not. So probably gonna be a bit of a hassle to pull the steering all apart. Obviously the column and all that, this rides up in the column. So all that has to come out and apart, and it's an inside job and an outside job, not just a couple of bolts at a little flange, you can drop it. But such is life. We'll break the front end apart, change all those bits. The last little link and bushings will be here tomorrow, maybe. So that'll be perfect if we get this all apart tonight and maybe start putting some stuff back together. And tomorrow we'll have it completely done. Bolt the seats in, start working our way back. We are making lots of progress in a short amount of time. But we have a long way to go in a short amount of time. So it all kind of works out here. Get this thing up in the air and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so under this hot rod, we gotta take the front steering off. Now here's what I was talking about, the idler arm. I ordered just a whole new deal with bushings, but I do have to take it all apart. I think press a new bushing in the center link. So these are pretty beat up on the outside, but I will say there isn't actually any real play in them, but you know what? At this point, for the extra $100, let's put it in there. So both tie rods have to come off. This just has 4 bolts, so we'll take the whole assembly out, and then the whole thing will hang down. They'll just be hung on the Pitman arm, which I don't know if we can pull it, or I should try and take the whole box out. Anyways, we're gonna try and save these boots because a couple of tie rods I got used didn't have any. So, you know, I'm quick to use a pickle fork and jam those. But really all you gotta do is loosen the nut, kind of put it on there so it'll hold itself. Grab yourself a hammer, give it a big whack. It'll kind of oblong the hole, and then there you are. She's loose. So I'll get to taking this out real quick, and then we'll see if I can pull the Pitman arm off the box, because I'll have to do that anyways, or if I should just try and take it all out in one unit. The steering box can be held on with 3 bolts to the subframe, which is no big deal. There's probably gonna be something with the linkage for the column shift, because that's originally what it was, and then we'll pull the steering wheel, and then if we're lucky we can kind of maybe loosen the column and don't touch anything there. I think there's probably just a couple of bushings, but the rod should slip through, and if we have enough height and maybe enough bend, we can just kind of whoop, take the whole thing out real easy on the lift. Would be the best case scenario, and then we can just kind of reverse the process. I actually thought this was gonna be here tomorrow, but it's not here for a couple of days, so that's a little unfortunate, but you know what, we can kind of keep going and do a little picking away at some of the old undercoating and whatnot. I never even got up in here, but get this all kind of painted up, make it look pretty like the back, and kind of keep going. So I'll get this out real quick. Looks like it's just a couple of you know, half inch socket. I'll take all that stuff out, and yeah, we should be set. Pretty simple, but pretty terrible and expensive design. Buy Chevelle, seriously, buy Chevelle. Okay, so we're on the ground floor. We have all the steering stuff just kind of hanging. Steering box was undone. I then pulled the steering wheel, which was just, you know, horn button and a few little things like that. Then there's just a little clamp that holds this steering column up, this. There's a couple of studs. Just like that, very simple. So I pull that off, and then I can just kind of move this. There is another anchor at the bottom, but I think it's just kind of like a rubber deal. So anyways, what that does is it allows us to push the steering box over. Now obviously this box was in this little pocket here and bolted, so it's over. So in theory, we can probably wiggle this up a little bit too, or I don't know. But I'm thinking hopefully that's all we got to do. And it doesn't look like the exhaust will hit or anything. If we can raise it up and kind of sneak it out, then we deal with everything on the bench. Now, there's going to be splines for the Pitman arm. I hope that the splines have like a master spline and all that deal. I think you'll need a claw puller. I don't know if I have one big enough. I have to go to MERS and just kind of will rematch that. But the nice thing is, with the new one going in, we can kind of put that, center the wheel, do whatever we have to do, and then we can kind of mess with the Pitman arm after the fact. So let's raise this thing up in the air and hopefully it comes out nicely. Otherwise, we're going to do a little bit more screwing around with the column, but I don't know what else we can kind of do. I think this is the plan. This would be a real pain in the ass on a V8, so not too bad on a 6. Okay, do we feel lucky? We need to tilt this somehow. So we have it out. We have to tilt the column up. How am I gonna do that? Well, that's a pain. What can we do here? Nope, nothing I really want, other than I think we have to pull a column out from the car. Ugh, that's a hassle. How did I do this now? Oh, there we go, okay. Oh, something's happening. No, nothing I want though. Easily done. Not. Huh. Well, what a task that was. We got her out though. This one's missing a little cup or something there, so I guess we'll see if she's completely wore out or not, but there's not any play in and out. I don't know, I'm glad I got the other box. I want to screw around with this, but realistically, we have to get this arm off, which is probably like a claw puller. I don't know if I have one. I have to go to Merz and borrow one. We'll knock the tie rods off, and then probably, yeah, we'll undo that, slide that sucker out, have to press that bushing off. There's a little bit of screwing around to be done. Honestly, the night's kind of gone sideways. That might be a tomorrow job, because this was stressful. Maybe we'll put the new box in, I guess. Just kind of put it all back together. Probably not a bad idea. And then we can put the Pitman arm on the new box on the car. See if that makes it any easier. New day. Yesterday, I was ungodly frustrated trying to fit this steering box in, but such is life. I think what we're gonna have to do is remove a motor mount, support the engine with a jack stand, and then I can probably slide it in there. But what are you gonna do? Cooler heads will prevail in a new day, so hopefully that'll go in there. And ultimately, I got home from work there, and this was sitting on the front porch. So that's pretty sweet. We got our new, arm with the bushings and all that. Now the bushings were like $60, and the whole arm unit was like 85 or something. Didn't even make sense. So I was like, well, I might as well buy the whole deal and then yeah, put it all together. So that'll have to come apart. I forgot to grab a puller, so we'll see if that'll come apart nice. Otherwise, we'll have to contact Mer or run to Princess Auto and grab one, which I probably gotta do anyways. We're taking the Caprice in for inspection tomorrow, so I gotta go put gas in it and clean it up and all that. But yeah, man, it's just lots going on. So I'm gonna see if I can unbolt the motor mount on this, and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about, and if I can kind of rock the motor a little bit or do something a little bit goofy with it and get just enough to stake it in there, we'll be golden. Otherwise, I'll have to plead with Mur to come over and maybe crank down on the steering rod as I kind of push it up and in or something like that, because it just barely wants to go. It gets stuck under the dash. So if I could be in 2 places at once, I might be able to finagle it, but the motor mount's 3 bolts. We'll take it apart. And everything's come apart pretty easy in this thing, so I can't really complain. If we get that in there, we should be able to bang the whole front suspension, steering, everything 100% done, tighten it all up, signed, sealed, delivered, give it a quick undercoating, and then, yeah, kind of carry on to fuel system, see what's up with that. And 8 minutes later, the next day, when you're not mad, steering column's in, so our steering shaft's in. We gotta jam the column on, but very simple. It just had 4 bolts at the base, little like self-tapery deals. And we gotta put the steering wheel back on, the horn back on, attach it up to that, but mindless easiness. And then, yeah, so all I had to do, this car comes apart so easy, but take off the motor mount off the block, and this is the little ear that stands off the frame. So what happens is you get all this, I wish I had a light here, all this space back, and then you just kind of put it up there. I just have 1 bolt holding it in, but there you have it. Just that easy. Just that easy. So I'm gonna put the bolts back in, and we'll put the motor mount back in, get this little stand off, because that's kind of sketch. And yeah, maybe we'll go inside, put the column and all that back together. Bang the front suspension apart. Should be pretty simple, hoping. And yeah. Oh, you know, I moved this thing and I forgot to tighten, well, I didn't forget, but I neglected to tighten the strut rods. Well, you wouldn't believe, between that and not having any of these adjusted, she was a bit of a push with the Bobcat. Okay, so steering column is in. I guess I can show you on the other side here, but America. So you got it all in and kind of secured up. I don't have any of the wiring hooked up, but that's all good. And then it's all kind of bolted underneath. I then just went over and double checked, cotter pinned everything, tightened up the strut rods. So that's all kind of dialed. Now what I'm going to do is I have to go rent a Pitman arm puller, I believe. They have the old rent tool set up, so I'm going to run down there and get one. And before I do that, though, we're going to go ahead and just finish undercoating in here, because I didn't do that. And I don't think we're going to be under here for, well, the next few hours anyways, so might as well get this all taken care of. I have a feeling that we're going to be renting the Pitman arm puller and using the torch, and it's going to be ugly and all sorts of stuff. So let's at least make it look pretty, right? So get that taken care of, and I'll see you guys in well, an hour or two whenever I decide to come back with that piece. Maybe Merle will come over and we'll screw around pulling that old box all apart. Nice thing is we don't really care about the old box. We can really put the heat to it. Brand new. Okay, so I just came back. We got the old rental tool. I just started using it and it went super easy, so I'll just show you. Anyways, the spline has 4, like it's splined all the way around, but there's 4 slots where it's like a double wide spline. So anyways, I just marked the Pitman arm, and then with the spline we have here, and then we'll kind of match that up on the other one once we get it all dialed together. And all I did was I took a big Kresge. So I just rented this. I mean, you guys must have the old rentals everywhere you go. I thought it was gonna be really ugly, and no, it literally like fell apart. So I probably could have just screwed around with like a 2 or 3 jaw puller kind of deal. But that's pretty much that. And then you can see here, see how there's a double wide spline. So I just marked those, and then we'll just have to kind of count our turns wherever way this is. It's pointing inwards and cherry. So we'll get that off. I'll bust off the tie rods real quick. Then we just gotta we'll make a new set. Very simple, because we actually have a set to copy for length. And then we'll have to push out this this bushing right here. That's gonna be the only kind of pain in the ass. And then this piece here, we gotta, I don't know if I think we have to reuse the bolt. That's the only one that came with it. And then that'll just slide back together, so that'll be pretty nice. So we're just separating this thing and kind of taking it all apart. So pretty simple. Now, really I could have got away with not replacing all this stuff now that I see it. So obviously when you're looking at it, it looks like this. It's all kind of, you know, beat up, and it looks a little blah. Now the idea is there's a, you know, a collar or whatever you want to call it, a little sleeve on the outside, rubber isolator, and then there's a little sleeve in the center. Now, if you look at it, the sleeve in the center is actually still in good shape. There's not a lot of play in it. It still has a little springiness. It's not all wallered out inside. Probably could have been reused, no bones about it. But at this point, with how deep we're in, remember how I said a few videos ago, I'm gonna do this on the cheap? Never worked out. So changed her up, 100 bucks. Is what it is. We got her kind of back together, so that's all styled. Now what we gotta do is this bushing here has to be pressed. Well, that one has to be depressed. So I'll get out the air hammer, we'll knock that one out, and then we have to press this one in to the center link there. And once that's done, we'll make 2 tie rods, put it back together, and then put it back in the car. I mean, that's just it. Then the whole front end will be brand spanking new to go around the block twice. Exciting. Okay, so we got the center link in the vise. Just make sure this is the same bushing, which I'd say it is. And you just want to make sure you're aware of what you're doing here, especially in this, because these are hard to find. Bushing is in the correct spot. I'll see if we can kind of fold this thing over a little. There we have it. So you kind of just try and fold it in, kind of make it a little bit smaller because it's a press fit. This has actually been changed before by the looks of it. Someone's been in there. And then just kind of work its way out. Chook, chook, chook. And she's done. And of course at the same time, I lost the new bushing on the ground. So we'll go find that, and then we'll put it in real quick on the press. Okay, so at the press, I already did it, but basically you wrap a socket around the, like I said, the outside rim. So you're not pushing the center, you're pushing around this outside sleeve. So you do that, you push it in. Now what I had to use these 2 plates with a little separation because it has to actually go not just bottom out, but past it. But, hang on, just hold there, guys, hold there. Let this off. Go over the bench. So you can see the socket fit right around there and pressed on it. Then we had to go just a little bit past. You go until it kind of stops. Pretty simple stuff. And she's rebuilt, as far as I'm concerned. Now I'll make a couple of tie rod ends real quick. We have brand new everything, so that should be pretty simple and quick. And then, yeah, I know I've said it before, but if you don't have, I said it well in the last video, about a torch set or one of the last videos. A little tiny press like this makes life so much easier. You can absolutely do this in a vise. You typically need a pretty big one. I think this is a 5-inch. If you had like an 8-inch vise, you could probably get in there, because you got to remember, this is going to be sticking out. Then you got to have the socket on it. Then you got to have a socket on the backside to catch it. It becomes quite long. So I actually do want a bigger vise, but it holds what I need, and I have the press. But an 8-inch vise, when they come on sale, like Harbor Freight or Princess Auto, not a bad thing to have either, and I probably will be upgrading. Oh yeah. So we'll go ahead and put these together real quick. We should be all taken care of for the front end. Put it all back together. So, this is where we're gonna get a little mathematical. We have everything all together. Now, I have the steering box in, obviously bolted up, everything. Then we took the old one, and what I did was I put it where it was gonna kind of be the same orientation. So coming in like that, we turned it all the way driver's side, which then put our mark in this one spline. So we're just going to simply match those splines up. Which, there should be one that's basically facing the lower bolt in the front, or no, the back. Ooh, that would have been embarrassing. Yeah, on the back. Okay, so we'll just double check that. Which we have. I'll take this nut off. We should be able to just install this thing. I'm thinking I did mark it the whole way down. So that one there. Oh, I should lift this thing a little higher. Oh well. Camera died, but look at that. Tie rods, idler, all do. I gotta put new hardware in there. I might have to cut that off. Cotter pinned. Everything's all dialed together. Over here we got everything all taken care of. Look at that. Lock nutted. Everything is, I think, done. We have everything centered-ish. I just kind of counted the turns, so it may not be perfect, but it's perfectly darn close. So that's a completely rebuilt front end when I was trying to do it on the cheap. Lesson learned, because then I paid all sorts of extra money for fast shipping and stuff like that because I wanted it done ASAP because I'm an idiot. But I think that's it. I'm gonna go charge the camera and get something to eat. But I think that's it for now. Then we can maybe work on fuel system and see if we can get this thing to run properly. For some reason it's not getting fuel. I don't know if it's just low or what. I'm happy with it. I think it's pretty darn impressive, and I recommend you spend the money first, or depending on what you have for inspection laws and all that. I guess you can do whatever you want. The one situation there, that new arm I got, the other one had a slice in it for like a flat washer, and this one was just round, so I just used a couple of fender washers, but that'll be fine. E-brake works. What else do I gotta do under here? I guess just double check undercoat paint and carry on. I'll see you after supper. back at it. You guys want to know how my tiny bird brain works? Oh, so we got the wheels and tires back on. That's all kind of dialed. Anyways, on the last video, or 2 videos or whatever, we did the brakes. We're trying to run this thing, and it wouldn't suck fuel. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, didn't make sense. I know the fuel pump was good because it was running off like a little jerry can and stuff. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, okay, well, let's start, you know, kind of going after that. So I pulled the line off the tank, and I blew into the tank, and I heard bubbles. I'm like, okay, well, that's a good sign. And I blow through this end. I just put a piece of hose on, and it had air leaking. I'm like, well, that's weird. So at the end there, I had taken the line off, put a bolt in it, so it's airtight, eh? So I'm like, what the heck? So I'm kind of playing with it and this and that, and I'm like, well, you know, I'm looking where I'd cut through. So like I put the floor in here to here. And I cut through, I'm like, well, no problem there. Put a rubber line in, screw around, blah, 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 blah. Well, then I started thinking, I'm like, well, idiot. If I cut the line back here, and I also cut all the way over, all the way ahead, all the way back, and all the way back, maybe there's another cut in the line. So, there was. This is all kind of mangled now. It starts right there and runs all the way up. So, it's hard to have suction when there's a, I don't know, 6 or 8 inch cut in the fuel line. Anyway, we got a piece of rubber. I'm just going to join them together for now, and we'll call that good. Hook the fuel tank back up, drop back down, and see if this thing will run off its own fuel supply. That'd be pretty interesting, eh? I'd really do that, and then I think in the next video we'll put seats in, we'll show the lights work, we'll do all that little stuff, but we're really just kind of in a hurry. I was really dreading the front end, trying to piecemeal it together, and I realized, like, I'm telling you, I just don't have the time. Like, I can't wait and screw around, scrounge and all that. You gotta keep it going. So I guess that's why I've been buying front ends in bulk. Anyway, I'm gonna get this fuel line hooked up real quick. Little chintz. I do have a brand new roll of fuel line inside, but it's 5/16. And if I'm gonna run a new fuel line, we might as well do 3/8 front to back and stuff, right? I also ordered a new tank and all that, so I wasn't really happy with the one that's been patched together. That's not my jam. Yeah. So I'll get this all dialed together. We'll put it down, put the battery on it, and maybe, just maybe, it'll run and idle off the tank for the first time in who knows how many years. Okay. We got the, I just got a bolt in here. So we got the fuel line hooked up the back. I'm just gonna go ahead and plug this back into the fuel pump, which at one point worked. So like I said, we had it running off of a fuel jug. So hopefully it's still good. Actually, it looks, well, it looks like a fuel pump. Who am I kidding? It's not new. Come on, there we go. So we'll do that. We got a battery in it. Hopefully it still has a little bit of jam in it. And I got my little Powerade bottle full of gasoline. Let's see if this thing will fire up. Okay, that's sketchy-ish, but ground. I love when people use red for ground. I'm the guy who uses red for ground. Okay. Good connections. Now, let's make sure this thing's in park, which it's not. Smart, buddy. There we go. Okay. Now we may have to kind of bottle feed it a little bit. Try and fill up the bowl here. Just until it picks up fuel, if it picks up fuel. Oh, you know what? I should probably hook this up too. Jeez. That would have been a infinite badly fuel leak. Let me grab a screwdriver here. Oh, here's one right here. See? The floor storage is paying off. In all reality, I'm doing pretty good here with the cleanliness. Come on, guys. Okay, get that back on. Why'd I have that off? I guess maybe I was checking for fuel, eh? Okay. You got a fire extinguisher in here? I think so, eh? Yeah, it'll be fine. Alright, see what happens. Okay, battery's dead, or what's going on there? fiasco. Yep, okay, so that's, we have headlights. We do. So what's going on here? That's the power to the box. Background looks terrible. What the heck? Oh, neutral safety. I took that all apart, right. Pause. So when I pulled the column out, I disconnected all the wires, and one of the wires was neutral safety. So what we're gonna do, take a cotter pin and just bridge it. I wanna go through and do the wiring piece on this. We have to run it to that ratchet shifter. So we'll just bridge it. See if we can roll with this thing here. I'm sure she'll be super happy. Cotter pin. Engage. All right, ready? Look at that. Okay. So clearly, that was the problem. A little more fuel. I settled the ball to feed it a little bit, but it's promising. So it kind of wants to die because I'm kind of putting a little bit too much fuel in, but no, it hasn't picked up anything yet. Might need more gas in the tank, I guess. I don't know. Vibration's a little crazy. RPM. Think it picked up fuel? It must have picked up fuel. Who would have thought? So the fuel tank's good, the fuel line is good. Feels like the accelerator pump's okay. We'll let it warm up just a little here. Now we have done next to nothing of this. I think the inside of the muffler is coming apart, unfortunately. Whoop. Come on guys, get her straight. I think the inside of the muffler is let go and that's the rattling. Bit of a hassle. Tailpipe's pretty dice on this thing, but whatever. So it's obviously running up the tank now. This motor was super noisy when we first fired it up, but it seems like it's doing okay. So we'll just let it kind of idle, sort itself out a little bit, and see if when it gets a little bit of heat in the motor, we can kind of rev it up and go from there. So I'm gonna let it run for a little, and I'll be back in a few minutes, see where we get. Okay, so we're it ran for 5 minutes or something like that. Anyways, I think the carburetor's not super happy, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, but it does have accelerator pumps. You can see when I press it, look at that, it kind of smokes, so that's good. Something here is leaking. Well, it could be the missing bolt in the valve cover. Could be part of the problem. Smells like oil too, so that's probably that. The carburetor, what it does is it's okay under when you kind of blip it, but doesn't like a steady acceleration. It kind of falls on its face, so we'll see. This is what I was talking about, some of the wiring. So I kind of bridge these. Pretty common for a lot of these years is purple is neutral safety. We obviously have the headlights or the turn signals and all that disconnected. And that's a horn maybe? Backup lights? So anyways, that's that. We'll end up running some of this stuff to the shifter. The rest of it can just be plugged in, or I actually ordered a column for this thing, so a tilt column. We can splice that in a new column, but so be it. Fuel gauge is running full, which means it's got bad ground or some issue, but let's fire it up. So it runs. Doesn't even sound that loud. But here's the problem we run into. So you give it it doesn't mind that, but under easy throttle, to die and it's not happy. But it doesn't mind RPM. So, like a carburetor kit, wow. Yeah. It runs poorly enough that we could probably take it for a test drive, but this door stopped latching. Anyways, what was I saying there? Oh, it's smoking here. So it runs poorly, but it runs, I think, well enough we could probably take it for a ride. I don't think I've ever taken this thing for a ride around the block. We've made sure it had gears with the transmission, but that'd be kind of a cool little thing to go for a ride around the block, maybe. I think it's always been the other garage. And we pushed it in, oh, it must have been with the Bobcat. So next video, drive it. We got something we want to do. Again, I got to get it inspected. You don't have to drive it for the inspection, so if I can make it run well enough, tow it with the tow truck, update coming on the tow truck. I'm finally going to get it back shortly here. But I mean, drop it in the parking lot, make it run well enough to drive in, give it a once over, brakes, suspension, shocks, it's fine. Rubber stamp out the door. Really, who cares how much we drive it? But anyways, if we're going to do it, plugs, wires, you know, cap, rotor, carb kit, like a tune-up. But the problem is a cheap tune-up these days, it's not a cheap tune-up anymore. It's probably going to be like $150, which sucks. The car's looking pretty cool. I'm going to hound the guy tomorrow about the windshield rubber. Hopefully I can just, it's beyond me at this point. But really got to bolt all the seats in, go through, bolt up the bumpers, make sure they're all good, go through the lights, make sure that's all good. And then it's missing all sorts of little stuff, but I think I have wipers, make sure the wipers work. I don't know if this thing, oh yeah, it's got squirters, make sure that all works. Just kind of go through the car. Honestly, pretty short list of stuff. Clean it all up. We know that I want to leave it ratty, obviously. We do have a lot of the trim for it. Mur might clean it up and maybe we'll put it on. I don't really know what the plan is, but that's where we're leaving it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's been an absolute battle, but we're getting near to the fun stuff, or the fun stuff. Sooner rather than later, this thing will be badass, small block, solid lifter, nose high, gasser, that Daniel will probably hate, and I'll have wasted all sorts of my money. But luckily you guys are watching the video, so it's kind of your money. So really, you're the idiots who are paying for all this stuff. Thanks for watching. Comment below. See you on the next one.